All right, off we go again. This time we're going to be using one of the graphs though. If you look at exercise 13.3 on page 5, conductivity of seawater. Remember, this has to do with how electricity travels through salty water. The conductance and temperature of seawater, samples E and samples F below, have been determined. Use figure 2 on the next page to determine the salinity. Figure 2 is going to be a graph. This is what the graph looks like. So if you look in the lab, you can see here's this graph. What we're looking for is solving for salinity. This time we're going to do that with sample E and sample F, although of course you are going to be doing sample E and sample F. I'm going to be doing the practice sample 3, but we're going to use conductance, which you can see for sample E is 38 mhos and sample F is 41 mhos, and temperature in Celsius, which in both cases is 10 degrees Celsius. Okay, we're going to use a graph, and then that will give us salinity, plotting both of those things, the conductance and the temperature, on the graph. Take a look at the graph again. Notice on the left-hand side it says specific conductance. Okay, this is electrical conductance. Sorry, blah, 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 blah. I had a little problem speaking there, but this is electrical conductance. So in other words, how much electricity is able to transmit through the water. And if you look at this graph, you can see that down at the bottom on the left-hand side, you start with 10, you end up at the top above 50. So as you go higher on the graph, more electricity is being able to be conducted through the water. Now I just drew some arrows on there for you, 20, 30, 40, 50. They're pointing at those specific conductance lines. They run horizontally across the graph, so you can see 20 going across the graph, 30 going across the graph, 40 going across the graph, 50 going across the graph. Everybody can see that, right? Okay, you can. Very good. Now notice those other lines that are horizontal, that are between 20 and 30 and 30 and 40 and 40 and 50, those are in two specific conductance increments. Okay, so notice I put on there 22, 24, 26, 28. So in other words, you would go from 20, then the next line up that runs horizontal would be 22, then 24, then 26, then 28, then 30, and then 32, 34, and so on. Okay, very good. Now notice I circled in the middle these numbers. Those are the temperatures in Celsius: 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 15 degrees, 20 degrees, 25 degrees. And they are found on those lines that cut obliquely across the graph from the bottom left to the top right. Look down at the bottom. I highlighted salinity in parts per thousand. Notice it goes 10, 20, 30, 40. And then, for example, between 30 and 40, there's a line that runs vertically. That would be 35. So if it was 31, 32, 33, or 34, you have to kind of interpolate that a little bit. You can do it. And then notice also in blue, I highlighted the 15 degree Celsius line that cuts obliquely across the graph from bottom left to top right. That's because that's the one we're going to use for sample 3. Now look, you can see that, for example, with sample E, it's 38 mhos and 10 degrees Celsius. That's the conductance and the temperature. Mhos are units of electrical conductance. That's all that is. Let's assume 38 mhos, so very much like sample E, but 15 degrees Celsius. So this is our sample of water, okay? So let's see what the salinity is going to be. So we run electricity through it, 38 mhos go through, and the temperature is 15 degrees Celsius. If we plot this on the graph, that will tell us the salinity. And remember, you can read more about this in the lab, and you should. Now look, I just plotted in red 38 mhos. You can see the line going across the graph in red. And I already had 15 degrees Celsius plotted on here. Where those two lines come together, right there where the yellow arrow is pointing, we're going to draw a line straight down. And when we do, you could see that where it gets down to the bottom, where we're at salinity in parts per thousand, that line is about at, what would you say, 31? That's what I would say. And so indeed, what we have, if there's 38 moles and the temperature of the water is 15 degrees Celsius, the salinity is going to be 31 parts per thousand. And that's what you would plug into that blank line there, that line that goes across where the answer is supposed to be. Good. I don't think that was that hard. You can do it. It's just a graph.